It started with a coffee mug. Not a lipstick-stained wine glass, not a suspicious text, not even the classic cologne that's not mine smell. Just a mug. Blue ceramic. Cracked handle. Faded gold letters that spelled out, Monday mood. May the brew be with you. I didn't own that mug. Neither did she. I found it in the sink Tuesday morning. Cold coffee still inside. Which would be fine if Ashley had been home the night before like she said she would. She claimed she'd stayed at her colleague's place. Work emergency, too late to drive back. Nothing serious. Said it like she was reading from a script. I believed her. Mostly because I wanted to. But that mug. I picked it up, turned it over. There was a small chip on the bottom. Like it had been dropped once, hard, but loved enough to keep around. People don't bring mugs to a colleague's house during a work emergency. Not unless that house has become a second home. Or a first one. And then came the next clue, subtle but louder than any scream. The forgotten charger. She's the queen of needing it. Her phone's always dying. Half her life lives inside it. And yet there it was, sitting on the nightstand like a guilty whisper. Plugged in, untouched. Ashley never forgets her charger. Especially not when she's staying over. I stood there a minute, holding it, the weight of it heavier than it should have been. The charger, the mug, the silence between us lately, they were all puzzle pieces I didn't want to snap together. Still, I didn't say anything. Not yet. That's the thing about suspicion. It starts like a splinter. Tiny. Invisible. But the more you move, the deeper it digs. And once it's in deep enough, even breathing hurts. I told myself I was overthinking. That she was tired, distracted. That maybe I was projecting. That afternoon, I brought her the charger at work. I didn't say much, just dropped it off with a half smile. She looked surprised. Not in a happy way. Oh, you didn't have to come all the way here, she said, glancing quickly at the hallway behind her. Figured you'd need it, I replied, watching her eyes. They didn't meet mine. Thanks, she said, shoving it into her bag like she didn't want anyone to see. Her office smelled like cinnamon gum and cologne. Again, not mine. I walked out slower than I went in. That night, she kissed me on the cheek. Not the lips. Told me she had to be up early again. Same excuse. Different day. The next morning, her car wasn't in the driveway. But her gym bag was still by the door. At exactly 6:34 a.m., I saw her through the window. Across the street. Coming out of a different house. She looked back once. Not at me, at the doorway. Someone else stood there. I couldn't see the face. Just the silhouette. Tall. Barefoot. Confident. She smiled at him. Not the tired, distracted smile she gave me. This one was real. Effortless. Like it had a private joke hidden inside it. Then she walked to her car and drove home, fixing her hair in the mirror at a red light. She walked in the front door 10 minutes later, keys jingling like bells in a horror movie. Morning, she said, like she hadn't just betrayed every vow she ever made. And just like that, I realized. This wasn't a mistake. This wasn't an accident. This was the beginning of something deliberate. The mug. The charger. The window. They weren't the evidence. They were the invitation point. 3 days passed. Long ones. Ashley acted normal, too normal. Like someone overcorrecting a lie they haven't told yet. Breakfast was made. Laundry folded. She even started humming in the mornings again. The kind of humming you do when you've made peace with your decisions and the fallout they'll cause. I played along. Not because I was clueless. Because I was curious. I needed to see how far she'd go before she tripped over her own fiction. Then came the dinner. Thursday night. She texted me at work. Let's grab dinner. Just us. Somewhere nice. No reason. No anniversary. No apology. Just us. That's the kind of move you make when you're trying to control the narrative. Set the stage. Look me in the eye while you bury the truth in small talk and appetizers. We went to a cozy Italian spot she used to love, back when we still meant every word we said to each other. She showed up late, claimed traffic. Didn't apologize. Just smiled. She wore the blue blouse. The one I told her was my favorite. Paired with earrings I hadn't seen in over a year. Her makeup was flawless, but not for me. That much was obvious. The hostess sat us near the window. Ashley ordered wine before I even opened the menu. Rough day? I asked, sipping water. Just busy, she replied, not elaborating. This is nice, though. We needed this. I nodded, but I wasn't really agreeing. I was watching. She kept checking the entrance behind me. Not constantly, just enough. Like she was waiting for someone to not walk in. Halfway through the meal, I excused myself to the restroom. Took a detour past the bar. That's where I saw him. Tall, sharp suit, black shirt, no tie. The kind of guy who looks like he's always on his way to a photo shoot or a lawsuit. Sitting at the far end, nursing an old-fashioned. He wasn't looking around. He wasn't reading a menu. He was waiting. And then his phone lit up. A single message. He smiled. I already knew who sent it. Back at the table, Ashley was mid-story about a project at work. Something involving spreadsheets and deadlines that I couldn't have cared less about. She trailed off as I sat down. You okay? She asked. Yeah, I said. Just thinking. About. I looked at her for a long second. Not past her. At her. Into her. The mask she was wearing was starting to crack around the edges. You ever get the feeling someone's practicing a speech before they give it? I asked casually. She blinked. What do you mean? I shrugged. Like, they've already made a decision. But they're waiting for the perfect moment to make it sound mutual. There it was. A flicker in her eyes. Not fear. Not guilt. Just recalculating. She smiled tightly. No. That's oddly specific. Yeah. I said, taking another bite of pasta. Isn't it? Then came the slip. I told Chase this place had good tiramisu, she said, almost too fast. Pause. My fork stopped midair. She realized what she'd done the moment my eyebrow went up. I mean, Chase from work. You've heard me mention him. I have, I said. In fact, I'd heard a lot about him. In passing. In jokes. In the way she said he just gets it, you know, during arguments. I smiled. Not because it was funny. Because I knew she thought she'd gotten away with it. That's the moment I understood something crucial. She wasn't going to confess. She was going to curate. Bit by bit. Friendly names. Innocent texts. Until the truth had been diluted into something palatable. But I didn't want her watered-down version. I wanted the raw file. The part she wouldn't say out loud. So I played dumb. Nodded. Let her finish dessert. But inside, I was already planning the next move. Because if Chase was the shadow behind the curtain, then it was time to shine a damn spotlight. Friday morning started like 1,000 others. Coffee brewing. The slow hum of the fridge. Ashley's heels clacking down the hallway as she rushed to get ready for work. Except she wasn't there. Her toothbrush was dry. The bed, untouched on her side, still made military tight, like she never even came home. Like she vanished between Thursday night and dawn. At 7:12 a.m., my phone buzzed with a text. Got caught up at Chase's. Late night working on the client deck. Just easier to crash there. Don't worry, I'm safe, Red Heart. Safe. At Chase's. Because of a PowerPoint presentation. She really went with that one. The average adult might believe that if they hadn't seen the body language, the bar tension, the quiet slips of the tongue. But I wasn't average anymore. Not since the mug. Not since her charger. Not since her eyes stopped recognizing mine. I didn't text back. Didn't call. Instead, I waited. There's a kind of silence that isn't empty. It's ready. And I was sitting in it like a soldier before battle, hands wrapped around a lukewarm coffee, eyes locked on the window that faced the street. At 8:03 a.m., she appeared. Hair wet from a shower that wasn't ours. Wearing clothes she didn't leave the house in yesterday. Walking briskly down the sidewalk from 2 blocks over, purse slung over her shoulder, head down like she was late for something, or guilty of everything. But that wasn't what broke me. It was him. He came out onto the porch. T-shirt, gym shorts, coffee in hand. Smug. Comfortable. At ease in the daylight. Chase. I'd never seen him in person before. Just glimpses in her stories, the occasional photo from some team dinner. But there he was in living color, scratching his chest, and yawning like a man who had everything and hadn't even earned it. Ashley turned as she reached the corner. She smiled at him. The kind of smile that lives in muscles you don't use for lies. Real. Warm. Home. And that was the part that got me. Not the sleepover excuse. Not the lie about work. The smile. Because I hadn't seen that smile in months, and now I knew where it had gone. She crossed the street. I stepped back from the window before she could see me. Didn't want to give her the satisfaction of knowing I saw. Not yet. I needed her to think the mask was still working. That her performance was intact. She walked through the door 5 minutes later, breathing like she'd run a mile uphill. Her makeup was fresh, her story even fresher. Sorry, she said. Client kept us up late. I didn't want to drive so late after all that coffee. She stopped mid-sentence when she saw me already dressed, sipping from her favorite mug. I didn't blink. Just nodded. Rough night? I asked. She hesitated. The silence between us wasn't awkward. It was surgical. Then she smiled again. Not the one she gave Chase. A different one. The one she gives when she's already rewritten the truth in her head. And that's when I knew she wasn't sorry. Not for staying over. Not for lying. Not even for betraying me. She was sorry I might figure it out too soon. I let her finish getting ready. Kissed her on the cheek as she walked out the door. Watched her car roll down the street like everything was normal. But I wasn't sitting idle anymore. I pulled out the folder from the top shelf of my closet. The one I'd started months ago, back when the love turned cold and the answers started hiding in plain sight. Inside, phone records, location data, hotel charges, screenshots, a photograph taken 2 nights ago of her and Chase holding hands outside a Thai place 20 miles from her team meeting. She thought she was playing chess, but I had the board memorized. She thought I was asleep, but I'd never been more awake. I should have known it was a setup the second she asked me to wear something nice. Ashley never cared about my wardrobe unless we were going to a wedding or a wake. This was neither. I just want us to talk, she'd said. Somewhere neutral. Somewhere calm. She even picked the restaurant. Italian. Classy. Candlelit. One of those places where the bread comes in a basket too small and the wine list has its own zip code. I was already cautious when I walked in, but I wasn't ready for what I saw at the table. Him. Chase Donovan. Sitting across from an empty seat, looking like an Abercrombie ad that aged into a motivational speaker. He was dressed in black, shirt tight, sleeves rolled, smile smug like he'd already won. Ashley sat beside him, not across. Beside. Their wine glasses touched like a toast frozen midair. Her hand was dangerously close to his leg. I stopped in my tracks, halfway between denial and detonation. Ashley looked up, her expression carefully measured. Logan, she said, motioning to the seat across from them, like this was normal. This is Chase. I figured it was time you two met. Met. Like we were in a coffee shop doing introductions. Chase leaned forward, calm as a vulture. Hey, man. I've heard a lot about you. Yeah, bet you have. My pulse throbbed in my ears. My jaw clenched so tight I thought I'd break a molar. But I sat down. Not because I was calm, but because I wasn't giving them the show they wanted. Not yet. Ashley exhaled, as if relieved the circus act had begun. I didn't bring you here to fight, she said. I want honesty. I looked at Chase. Is that what this is? Honesty? He smirked. Look, I'll make this simple, Logan. You've got 2 options. He actually said that. 2 options. Leave quietly, he said, or face me like a man. Ashley didn't even blink. She didn't gasp. She didn't protest. She smiled. That was when the ringing in my ears started. It drowned out the music, the chatter, the clink of silverware. All I could hear was him. And her. She wasn't just stepping out. She was stepping over me. And this wasn't the first act. This was the final one. Curtain call. She brought me here to watch me lose. To watch Chase slide into my seat, my life, my future, like it was a parking space he had a permit for. I smiled then. The kind of smile you wear to a funeral when the wrong person's giving the eulogy. You want your teeth whole or in pieces? I asked. I still locked on him. Then I stood. And I didn't yell. I didn't throw a drink or flip the table. I grabbed the wine bottle with quiet purpose and emptied it across the table. Chase's shirt went from smug black to crimson wet. Ashley shrieked, half standing, arms out. He jumped up, shouting something righteous. But I was already walking away. 3 steps. 4. Then I paused. Turned to them both, soaked and startled. I just wanted to return the favor, I said. You made me sit through your little performance. Now enjoy the cleanup. Then I walked out. Not a scratch on me. Not a tear on my face. Because this wasn't my breakdown. This was my beginning. And while they wiped wine from their laps and tried to piece together their dignity, I drove home to an empty house that no longer felt like a prison. It felt like a war room. Because now it was my turn. When I walked through the front door that night, it wasn't the silence that got to me. It was the smell. Her perfume always lingered in the hallway after she got ready in the morning, a light, floral scent that used to turn heads at dinner parties and remind me of the woman I married. But tonight, there was something else. Something underneath it. Heavier. Muskier. Cologne. Not mine. The air didn't smell like home. It smelled like a hotel room after checkout. And that was when I knew Chase had been here. It wasn't the wine-stained shirt or the smirk across the dinner table that confirmed the affair. It was that unmistakable scent clinging to my walls like it had rights. I didn't rage. I didn't cry. I walked through the house like a detective, like a ghost. Every room held something slightly off. The blanket on the couch was folded too neatly. The remote was in a different spot than I ever left it. And the kitchen, cleaner than usual. Spotless. Sanitized. Like someone had wiped down their presence. But the bedroom? That's where the illusion cracked wide open. The bed was made. Perfectly. Ashley hadn't made the bed in months. She always left her side rumpled, claiming mornings were too rushed and, what's the point? We'll just mess it up again tonight. But tonight? Tight corners. Smooth sheets. Hotel-grade tucking. It was like walking into someone else's life. A couple's life. Just not our couple. I sat down on the edge of the mattress, staring at the vanity where she usually tossed her jewelry. Nothing looked disturbed until I opened the drawer. Inside was her tablet. Unlocked. She never locked it. Trusted me too much, I guess. Or assumed I trusted her enough not to look. She assumed wrong. The gallery opened like it wanted to confess. And there it was, photo after photo. Her, in front of a hotel mirror. Lingerie I'd never seen. A room I didn't recognize. Pose after pose like she was marketing betrayal in high definition. I checked the date, last Saturday. The night she told me she was at Lacey's baby shower in Sacramento. I laughed. Not because it was funny. It was the kind of laugh that escapes when everything inside you snaps just enough to let the truth pour in. There were messages, too. Sweet ones. Stupid ones. Him calling her Ash. Her calling him Mr. D. Charming, right? They spoke in code, but not the clever kind. Just the kind lazy liars use when they think the person they're fooling will never look. But I looked, and I saw everything. That was the moment it all burned away, doubt, guilt, the need to be civil. I wasn't the hurt husband anymore. I was the man you don't see coming. My phone buzzed. Ashley, I hope you cooled off. I know that wasn't easy tonight, but I needed to be honest. We'll talk more when I get home tomorrow. I'm at Lacey's. She was still lying. Still playing her part. Still assuming I'd be waiting in the wings with open arms and a broken spirit. I set the tablet down and walked to the window. The street was dark. Quiet. Calm. It looked normal from the outside. But inside, the fire had started. I didn't punch walls. Didn't scream into pillows. That's not my style. I started writing instead. A list. Not of what she'd done, but of what I would do. Not out of rage. Out of principle. Out of strategy. This was no longer about love. This was chess. And I was tired of playing pawns in someone else's game. She walked through the door the next evening like she hadn't detonated a marriage. Keys jingling. Purse swinging. Sunglasses on her head like a halo. Hey, Ashley said, her tone breezy, like we just had a small spat over takeout. You okay? She dropped her bag by the counter, already reaching for the wine she keeps stashed like a secret beneath the sink. I didn't answer right away. Just sat there at the kitchen island, watching her move like she owned the place. Like she hadn't torched it down to its emotional studs. She poured a glass. Sipped. Waited. I finally spoke. Lacey says hi. That got her. She froze mid-sip, glass hovering just below her lip, mascaraed eyes flicking toward mine. What? I called her this morning, I said calmly, like we were discussing weather patterns. Wanted to thank her for hosting you. Baby showers are stressful. Ashley set the glass down slowly. And she was confused. Said she hasn't seen you in weeks. Said her baby isn't due for another 2 months. Said you definitely weren't in Sacramento last Saturday. Silence. Not the stunned kind. The calculating kind. Ashley didn't crumble. She didn't cry. She recalibrated. That's not, Logan, you're twisting this. I'm quoting this, I replied, pulling a printed screenshot from my pocket and sliding it across the counter like a poker chip. Ashley stared at it. It was the hotel reservation. Her name. 2 guests. Downtown. Same weekend. Still, she didn't flinch. You went through my stuff, she said. Not I'm sorry. Not please let me explain. Just you invaded my space. I nodded. Yeah, just like Chase invaded mine. That finally broke the mask. She stepped back, the smug control on her face cracking just enough to reveal the flicker beneath, panic. But it was too late. I was already miles ahead. I'm not here to argue, I said. I'm here to let you know the locks change Friday. She blinked. Excuse me. I want you out. Friday. You have 3 days. Her voice rose for the first time. You can't just kick me out of our house. I leaned in, still calm. You turned it into a hotel, Ashley. I'm just clearing the booking. That shut her up. She stared at me for a long, seething beat. I could see her brain searching for leverage. Emotion. Guilt. Pity. But she didn't find any. She reached for her glass again, but I pulled it away before she could touch it. No more wine. You'll need a clear head for what's coming. She scoffed, venom curling her lips. You really think you're the victim here? No, I said. I think I'm the one who just got free. I stood and left the room, but not before dropping another folder on the counter. Inside? Photos. Messages. One of her recorded calls with Chase, clear as daylight, saved on a drive she never knew I planted. She didn't open it. Not right away. She just stared. And I walked upstairs, not looking back, heart quiet and steady like a man who just stepped out of a burning house, stood on his shoes, smoke in his lungs, but not a single regret in his bones. Ashley didn't leave. Not immediately. She floated around the house like a ghost in designer sweats, trying to pretend things were normal. She'd hum to herself, overwater the plants, fold the laundry like some domestic diplomat trying to broker peace through neatly stacked towels. But I noticed something. She never touched her phone in front of me anymore. I knew why. The leash had snapped. What she didn't know, I'd already duplicated her cloud login. I was getting every message Chase sent, every panicked call, every frantic paragraph trying to strategize damage control, while still calling me unstable. Cute. For 3 days, she tried tactics like a magician fumbling tricks with no audience. Day 1, she was sweet. Let's not make this a war, Logan. We're adults. Day 2, she was venomous. You're being cruel. Controlling. I had to find myself. You never let me breathe. Day 3, she broke out the tears. Fake ones. The kind that shut off like a faucet when I didn't hand her the reaction she wanted. I gave her nothing. Not anger. Not pain. Just logistics. On Thursday night, I slid a single piece of paper across the dinner table. A moving checklist. Utilities to transfer. Keys to return. Bank accounts already split. Her name scrubbed from the deed. I'll be gone Friday morning, I said. I thought you wanted me gone. I do, I said. But I want you to feel what it's like when the house empties around you. That night, I slept better than I had in months. Friday morning, I packed my bag like a man heading on vacation instead of exile. Just a weekend bag. Nothing dramatic. Just enough to prove a point. I could walk away without clinging to anything. She stood by the stairs when I left. Silent. Arms folded. Jaw tight. She didn't ask where I was going. She didn't need to. She knew this wasn't just a breather. It was an exit with power. I rented a studio downtown. Bare walls. Cold floor. No memories clinging to the curtains. And yet I felt more home in that empty space than I had in our 4-bedroom colonial with the open concept and the shared mortgage and the scent of betrayal baked into the drywall. The silence was beautiful, but I wasn't done yet. I started mailing things to her. One item at a time. A framed photo of us on our anniversary, cut down the middle. The necklace she left in the drawer, returned in a velvet box with a note. He earned it now, right? A USB stick with every saved screenshot, dated and indexed, in case she ever forgot the full scope of her dishonesty. Poetic. Precise. Painless. And then came the final delivery. I sent her an email. No subject line. No greeting. Just the truth, written like a eulogy to something already buried. You didn't just cheat on a husband, Ashley. You dismantled a team. You took the one person who would have burned for you and handed him the match. You didn't fall in love with Chase. You fell in love with attention. And I watched you drown in it, even when I offered you the shore. I didn't walk away because I stopped loving you. I walked away because I finally started loving myself more. Logan. No threats. No begging. Just the obituary of the man she thought she could keep on standby. I never checked for a reply. That wasn't the point. Weeks passed. I heard from mutual friends that she tried spinning the story. Logan was cold. He was possessive. He couldn't handle a strong woman exploring her identity. But here's the thing about people like Ashley. They overplay their charm until the mask wears thin. The cracks started showing. Chase stopped showing up. Stopped calling. Turns out, being someone's fantasy boyfriend isn't as fun once you realize they come with a paper trail and emotional shrapnel. Ashley showed up to my apartment once. Hair done. Smile loaded like a weapon. I just want to talk, she said. I didn't open the door. I spoke through the intercom. Calm. Final. You lost the right to talk when you started scripting your next chapter without letting me finish this one. Silence on the other end. Then her voice, small. Don't you miss us at all? I smiled, finally free. I don't miss what never really existed. Click. And that was the last time I heard from her. There's a quiet power in surviving something that was meant to break you. Ashley thought betrayal would define me, but it refined me. She built her empire on secrecy. I built my freedom on exposure. No punches. No revenge plots. Just truth. Delivered cold. Like a well-written ending. She taught me one last lesson before she left. Never waste your loyalty on someone who sees it as leverage. So I poured myself a drink, sat back, and let the credits roll. The villain didn't win. She just got written out of the story.